Hi everyone, it's Jai452 back again inside the land of cosplay, rummaging around and seeing what we can find on Inside Cosplay. Joining me this week is my very special guest, the Pride of the Amazons. Hi Pride of the Amazons, how are you?
I'm great, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. We're here today to actually talk about your life in cosplay. So I think we should just jump right into it. And I'm going to ask you, when did you first start cosplaying?
Honestly, I feel like I've kind of been doing it my whole life. I was super fortunate. I had a really geeky, awesome mom, and she owned a comic or a costume shop, and she could sew. So
Awesome.
any costume we wanted, sky was absolutely the limit for us. She would make it. So me and my siblings, we've always been dressing in costume, and we've always been super passionate about it. I started actually making my own and wearing them to conventions about 7 years ago. That's when I was like, wow, this is like a thing. Like, I don't have to buy this from a Halloween store. I can go on YouTube and watch these videos and make this stuff myself. So probably about 7 years ago, that's when I really got the cosplay bug.
Is that some, you mentioned there that your mother was into sewing and such likes. Is that something that she encouraged you and your siblings to do? Did she encourage you to make your own costumes?
Honestly, not so much, because she's a seamstress, so she was so good at it. She would absolutely, we would go into her shop and she would show us how to sew little things, and we would make scrunchies for our hair, and sometimes we'd help her make stuff for her store. But for the most part, I mean, she was amazing. We would give her a picture and she could just make it in hours. It was amazing. So now I feel like one of my weakest skills is actually sewing, because she did my whole life. So now I'm like, oh man, I need to learn.
Is that something that your mother gets onto you for? Like, does she look at costumes that you've done and kind of go, well, you could have sewn this a little bit better?
She definitely says, she can tell. She'll be like, oh, that was a little crooked there, but she's super encouraging with it, so it's really awesome. And it's awesome that I have her as a resource for when I'm trying to sew something and I have no idea what I'm doing and I need to call her.
A friend of mine's mother is a dressmaker by trade, and they are the best people to go to. I remember when I did my first cosplay, she was the person I went to, and I was like, okay, I want to do this kind of jumpsuit look, but apply it to a male body, because it was like the classic Harley Quinn look that I was doing. And I was like, I want to do this, but I don't want it to be a full jumpsuit. I want it to kind of be partially jumpsuit, but maybe a coat as well, like what a ringmaster would wear. And from my very vague descriptions and a tiny terrible little drawing that I did, she made this amazing coat that does actually have a PVC collar on it, which is what really amazed me, because I was like, PVC, that's probably one of the worst and most difficult materials to work with. But it looks amazing, and people commented on that all day long. And I said to her before, because I knew people were going to comment on it, and I was like, do you want me to advertise your business? And she's like, no, just no. And it wasn't until I spoke to one of our daughters that she told me, because we live in such a small area, a lot of people go to her.
Yeah.
So she's always very, very, very busy.
Yeah.
But my next question for you is, and I think I kind of already know the answer to this, but who or what inspired you to get into cosplay?
Honestly, just loving the characters, like, so much. Growing up in, like, a very creative household definitely helped. I mean, I've always been into really creative things, so having that upbringing, having a geeky upbringing, really helped me to love those characters. And then when I got older, I got to appreciate them so much more. And you just, I read a Wonder Woman comic, and she's so inspiring, and she's so strong and brave, and I want to embody that. I want to feel like that. So that's what I find for me, like, making these costumes and wearing them. Like, I feel as strong as Wonder Woman when I wear her armor. So that's really what keeps me going and doing it.
Is there any particular individuals that inspire you when it comes to cosplay? Like you mentioned Wonder Woman there, I would take that as a character, but is there any cosplayers that you kind of follow either on social media or just generally look up to?
I find here in Halifax, like our cosplay community is huge and it's super inspiring. Like I'm constantly blown away going to events or conventions here and seeing like people from here, and I'm like, that's amazing. Like your skill has improved so much from the last costume. So I mean, I do a lot of volunteer work too, so I'm with the cosplayers a lot, so I'm in that community a lot, and just seeing everybody, and every couple of weeks somebody has a new costume. Like it's amazing. So honestly, like my friends and the community here is what really inspires me.
Is there any particular people though that inspire you? Like, could you maybe name drop a couple of names, or?
I just appreciate it all, honestly. Like I'm not a huge, like I'm not like, oh my god, I'm such a fan of this one person. I just love cosplay. Like I'll see a singular costume, I'm like, oh my god, that girl, like she killed that. Or I'll see a guy and he'll be like, oh, that armor is ridiculous. Like I love it. So I find it's more like costumes themselves that I see that I'm like, oh my goodness, like they made that ridiculous thing. I want to make that ridiculous thing.
What would be something that you have seen then that and really push the envelope, so to say? Like what is a costume that you've seen that maybe is something that you've only ever seen once, that really inspired you?
I found that before I did my Hawk Girl cosplay, I'd seen one online, and it was gorgeous, and she had these huge beautiful wings, and it was kind of like, it wasn't like the classic Hawk Girl. It was like a little different, like she put her own spin on it, and I saw that and I was like, whoa, like that is insane. I want to do that. Like I want to have that ridiculous set of wings that is making people like jaw drop when they see it.
Awesome.
And I follow her on Instagram, and I think her name is Acceleration Designs.
So possible free shout out for Acceleration Designs there.
I'll feel awful.
And if we didn't get the name right, we're sorry. Okay, so my next question for you is a little bit of a two-pronged question. What has been the most challenging cosplay that you've done to date, both from the making of the costume and the acting side? Because there is a little bit of acting involved in cosplay, whether it be how a character might speak, how they might interact with the general public, how they might pose, how they might move. So let's talk about from the costume perspective first. So to date, what has been the most challenging cosplay that you've done?
I'd say my Mass Effect Pathfinder build. It's also my favorite cosplay, but to build that armor was really hard. The game had only come out a couple months before, so there was no patterns online. There was no anything to kind of go off of. I hadn't seen anyone make that set yet. I saw there was a male one that I saw floating around the internet, but no female one. So that one was definitely really difficult, just using screenshots from the game to try and zoom in as best I could to see all the detail on the armor. And I am a super stickler for trying to make my armor detailed. I don't know why, I feel that need that I have to make it look exactly like that character. So that one was definitely a long couple months. There might have been some tears shed. There might have been some chats and last minute cosplay creating the night before the convention. So construction wise, I would say it would be that one.
Okay.
Character wise, I would say honestly, when I do Ariel, the Disney princess, it's a super easy costume, but usually when I wear that one, it's for volunteer events where there are kids. So there are lineups of kids to see me, and they think I am Ariel. So I don't want to disappoint them. They often have a lot of questions, that like you're not expecting. So I gotta like come up on the fly, but I'm always trying to keep that Disney princess voice. And there's my good friend, she's a cosplayer as well, Johnny Quick. She does Snow White. And she's like, never forget your Disney hands. Disney princess always have these light, beautiful hands. So I'm trying to concentrate on that. I'm trying to keep my smile going, my pretty voice. And then kids are asking me about being a mermaid and how my new legs are. So I'm like, oh, like I'm not quite that great on them yet. You know, giving them a twirl, trying to come up with whatever I can so that they have that experience. And they're like, wow, I really did meet Ariel.
I have to admit, I am so lucky that I have never done like a Disney character yet. I will admit though, I am kind of thinking, and I'm trying to get the stuff together for it, about doing Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon.
That'd be amazing.
And I have to admit, I don't think I could pull off, like, if I had to do another kind of semi-Disney character, because I can't remember if Hiccup's Disney or not.
Yeah.
I think he is, but let's just not put ourselves out there. I don't think I could actually do the kind of Disney princessy, you know, style of acting. I think that would just bust my nerves. But I have tremendous respect for the people who do it. Like, a friend of mine also does Snow White for charity events, and she does the exact same, like what you're saying. She does the hands, she does the voice, she's constantly smiling. And it's so funny because away from the camera, or away from being in that cosplay, I know what she's like, and she's nothing like a Disney princess. Do you think the older kind of Disney princesses, the princesses, are kind of slightly harder to do than the kind of like newer ones, like the ones like Elsa and the girl from Brave, and I think the girl from the Frog Princess as well? Like, they're not as prim and proper as like Snow White and Cinderella.
Yeah, they have a little more substance to them almost. You know, they're a little sassier.
Do you think that's easier to do than the traditional Disney princesses?
I feel like it would come with its, I mean, every character comes with its own challenges. I feel like it may be easier to stay in that character because you're not so concentrated on that prim and proper, high voice, beautiful hands all the time. They definitely have a little more, they definitely are more modern, so they have that kind of bit of sass and attitude to them, and definitely easier to stay in that character the whole time.
Awesome. Have you had any of the, while you've been in these types of costumes, have you had any experiences that just completely got you, like, I am totally failing at English. When you've been in these costumes, have you had any experiences that you weren't expecting with young children or fans or even adults? You know, you mentioned about playing Ariel, you have to always keep your wits about you. Has there been any other kind of costumes that you've done that you really needed to keep your wits about you?
I find anytime I do any kind of charity event or kids event, no matter what costume I'm in, they are always kind of putting me in those situations and asking me those questions, which is amazing. Like, it feels awesome to have a kid come up to me and think that I am Wonder Woman is unbelievable. I had, I usually get like a lot of the same questions, like, can you really fly? Like, how strong are you? But a couple months ago, I was at an event for the Children's Wish Foundation, and it was a princess and superhero tea party. So we were there, and all the girls were in their princess gowns, and one little girl came up to me, and she was just floored and thought I was the real Wonder Woman, and she asked me what it feels like to save the world every day. And I didn't have an answer. I have never had that question. And, like, she was so genuine, and she just looked up at me with these eyes, and she she wanted to know what it felt like to save the world every day. And I gave the worst answer, and I felt awful afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, I hope that wasn't too disappointing, because I was so taken aback by how genuine she was with the question that I can't even honestly remember. I gave some like super lame answer of like, it feels really great to do good in the world, or like, it just wasn't. I like think about it constantly. I'm like, I'm gonna have a better answer next time. That was definitely the biggest one to stand out.
Have you ever had a question asked to you by a child that you didn't have an answer for? Like, I know that one with Wonder Woman was kind of a hard one to answer at the time, but has there ever been one that you just kind of threw?
Sometimes I'll get ones from kids about, like, kind of violent ones. Like, they'll be like, have you ever punched Superman in the face? And, like, stuff like that. And I don't want to be like, yeah, I absolutely wrecked him. Like, I don't want him to go tell his mom that, like, Wonder Woman said that to him. Or I've even had kids, they would say, like, hey, can you punch me in the stomach? And I'm like, no, I cannot. So, I mean, a lot of times kids will ask me if I can really fly, and I'll be like, absolutely. And then they ask me to, and I'm like, I have to come up with some reason. I'm like, I can't. If I did it, then everyone would see. Like, I gotta stay at the event. Like, something super lame. So those ones I find, yeah.
It's so funny you should say that, because Matt was saying the exact same. When he does Superman, he has to come up with a reason on the fly why he can't fly.
So yeah.
And I think it's so much easier for Superman, because you can always say, there's got to be kryptonite somewhere. It's stopping me from flying. For Wonder Woman, it's that much harder, because she doesn't necessarily have a kryptonite, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel sorry for anyone who does a Wonder Woman character that flies, and there's no reason to why you shouldn't be flying, you know.
That's always a super lame answer.
I think the best thing that you can always say in that front is another excuse that Matt said he uses. He doesn't want to break the windows, because like the last time he was here he did that and he got into trouble for it. So but it doesn't work on every child, so you have to kind of also work around that. Alright, so my next question for you is, in your opinion, what is the most difficult thing or character to cosplay as, both from the making of a costume and the acting side? And we'll apply this to both yourself, as in what you feel is difficult for yourself to do, and what you think would be difficult for other people to do, in your own opinion. So let's start with yourself and the acting side. So what is something you would look at and go, well, I'll do this character eventually, but I need to research the character before I really can do it?
I find, like, I'm pretty good at that side of it. I was actually, like, a dancer my whole life. So, like, I'm very used to the stage and having to dance with different emotions and different styles. So that part of it, I personally am okay with. Absolutely, I would have to do research on some. I found when I first started cosplaying, all my characters were kind of like happy characters and like powerful characters. And then I did some armor sets, and then I found that when I showed up at the convention in it, and people would ask for my picture, and I'm like, absolutely. And then I get ready, and I'm like, wait, what do I do with my face for this one? Like, I can't smile in this. I have a gun. I can't be like, yeah, Wonder Woman, yeah. So I'd be like, I've had a couple of those moments where I, like, classic last minute finished a costume before a convention or an event, and I'm so excited, and I throw it on, and I show up, and I'm like, yeah. And then someone's like, picture, and I'm like, I didn't practice how to take this picture. I don't know what to do. So definitely, there's nothing that I find super hard. Like, more angry, aggressive characters I would find hard, because it's just in my nature. to be more on the happy, powerful, strong side. So I'd say that would probably be what I'd struggle with the most.
All right. Any particular cosplay characters or even creatures from the making of a costume that you would possibly struggle with?
I think anything that involves a lot of size would be difficult. Like I was looking at, I don't know if you saw, but there's a new game coming out called Anthem from BioWare, and I am super interested in it because I love BioWare. And you would have to make digigrade stilts to wear those costumes. They are huge and beautiful and impressive. And I haven't even played the game yet, but I want to make the costume already. So like, but literally just thinking about that is like stressing me out because I'm like they're huge. Like the presence of that costume is huge. Like so that definitely intimidates me. And I feel like if I do decide to make it, it's going to be probably the hardest thing I've ever made.
And what about in regards to other people? So let's say I come to you and I say, Amazon, I am looking to do almost a man-bat type of character, or a gargoyle. And I need the wings to be able to sit on my back and expand out and then contract back in. What kind of things would you advise me to do in order to make that kind of a type of costume? You know, what would you say I should be looking into? Let's say I'm just a brand new cosplayer, you know, just starting out. Yeah, aiming big, I can tell from your expression there. So what kind of things would you advise somebody when making something like that is very, very hopeful?
I mean, YouTube is amazing. People are very generous with their videos. Another thing that like I'm personally not afraid to do, and I hope other people aren't, is that I will see somebody make a costume if I follow them on Instagram or whatever it may be, and I will send them a message and be like, hey, I saw you made this thing, say wings, like they were gorgeous. Do you have any references or advice? I find, you know, as a general rule, cosplay community is super supportive. Like, we're all doing it because we love it. We're passionate about it. We love the creativity, the creation. We love the characters. So, like, I am so excited when somebody comes up to me and asks me, hey, how did you make this thing? Or what's this made out of? I am like, sit yourself down because we're going on a journey. Let me tell you about everything about this, because I put that time and effort into it. I am so excited to share that with somebody else. And if I can see somebody take that and do a similar thing, then, oh my God, that's amazing. Then I know that, like, wow, they like really liked what I did. They listened to me, which is amazing. And if they're able to take that and go a step further, then that's amazing. Then I'll message them and be like, okay, you took what I did and you went up that next level. Like, tell me what you did. I want to learn from you now. So learning from other cosplayers is key to having a good skill set of all your
and
cosplays.
I think I'm just going to add a little to what you just said there about the cosplay community being super supportive. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, guys, but when it comes to making costumes, the cosplay community is the worst at keeping secrets. You know, we keep no secrets when it comes to making costumes. We literally tell you step by step, in some cases, this is how we do it. You know, so it's like Amazon says, jump on YouTube, jump on Instagram. Any kind of social media feed is your best friend when it comes to making costumes. Okay, so let's talk about from the acting side now. Let's say I come to you and you know me as quite a quiet, to myself type of person. And I say to you, I really want to do a character that is like the Joker or Deadpool, or insert really loud, outlandish type of character name here. You know, what would you advise me to do? You know, if I wanted to emulate a character that is so, like, such a big 180 from who I am as a person.
I'd say definitely make sure it's something you're passionate about. I find that always makes it easier. If it's a character that you really love, then, I mean, you might not nail it perfectly. You might not be able to replicate their voice, but like, you're still you're gonna show that when you wear it, that you love that character and you're trying to be that character. That would definitely be the best way to really nail down that aspect of it. Or take a few things, like if you're like, okay, this character has this one thing that they always do, and it's, you know, that kind of iconic thing. If you just nail that one thing when somebody asks for a picture and you just do that one simple thing, they're going to be like, oh my God, they did it. They did the thing. So kind of sticking to that, you know, you don't have to encompass every single thing that character does. You don't have to have their voice down perfect. But if you can replicate a couple of the mannerisms, then you'll have it done for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so my next question for you is, there are many different types of Comic-Cons that we can go to throughout the year. They fall into 3 categories for me. The big once-a-year Comic-Cons, so things like San Diego Comic-Con, which at the time of this recording, I think has just not long ago finished. You've got your medium-sized Comic-Cons, which will happen maybe every 2 to 3 months. And then you've got your small local Comic-Cons, which will happen every, I don't know, every 2 months, I would say. Which out of those 3 do you prefer going to? Do you like the big ones that are once a year? Do you like the medium-sized ones, or the small and intimate ones?
I feel like I would like different things from each one. So like, I love going to those small ones. Like, they are so much fun. I find when you go to one of those, it's more about meeting people and spending time with your friends. We kind of look at those ones as like opportunities to cosplay, because it's not like there's a ton going on. There's no huge star that you're going to wait in line 4 hours for. So we will decide on costumes, we'll book photo shoots, and your day is kind of, you're not on a super strict schedule, which is nice. You're not like, okay, this panel at this time, and then I got to get this signing, and I got to be ready for this at this time, and you're not planning waiting in line times. You're just kind of showing up, and there might be a couple things you want to see, but for the most part, it's just getting to meet other people and having fun, and I really like that. I mean, I'm definitely a huge fan of a lot of fandoms. I'm a big geek. So there is appeal to going to a bigger convention and seeing stars that I'm totally fangirling over. I will definitely admit that. There's definitely people that I've waited in long lines for. So that is super awesome to do as well. But I'd say more on the medium to small, just because I love the meeting people part of it and the cosplay.
Awesome. When you've been going to these events, whether they're big, small, medium, whatever, what is the one thing that you're most excited for, and the one thing that you either used to or still kind of do on some level find the most nerve-wracking?
I'd say I love booking photo shoots with friends. We tend to do that. And I find that super exciting to do. It's a great way to like really feel like, yeah, like I put so much time and so much effort into this costume, and like now I'm going to get it photographed, and I'm going to have these pictures that I can look back on forever and be like, I did that. I'm so proud of that. So I really look forward to stuff like that, and meeting the other cosplayers. Like, I'm pretty sure at every convention I've ever went to, I've walked out with a handful of new cosplay friends, and that is super amazing to me.
Awesome. I can totally understand about what about something that you find kind of nerve-wracking?
I feel like I don't get there's nothing that's super nerve-wracking. I am really bad for finishing my costumes the night before. Like, I'm talking still strapping things and taking off painter's tape as I'm going to the event. And for all I tried on pieces as I went, like I would make a leg piece and I would try it all on and I'd be like, yep, this leg is good, or yep, this chest piece is good. It is a very rare occasion that I actually put the full outfit on and like spend some time in it before I go. So most of the time when I put it on right before I go is when my full fitting is. And lots of times there is pieces that don't really stay where they should, or straps that maybe I made a little too tight, but I don't realize till I've been walking around. Or I've had a couple times that I've made these awesome sets of armor and I'm like, yeah, I feel so badass. And then I go to walk up a set of stairs and I can't. I gotta do like an awkward leg swing to like not bend my knees. Or even my Mass Effect armor, which is my absolute favorite. I can't sit down in it because there is butt armor and it's made of foam. I'm scared if I sit down, I'm going to squish it and ruin all the detail and crack my paint. So I didn't really think about that. And when I wore it to a convention, I wore it full day, like 9 a.m. to, 8 p.m. And I did not sit down. I ate all my meals standing up over a table. I went to panels, and I just stood in the back and leaned against the wall. So knowing that my costume isn't going to fall apart would be the most nerve-wracking.
I can completely sympathize with that because I remember there's only been a few cosplays that for me I haven't been able to like be completely mobile in them.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that really springs to mind was my Poison Ivy cosplay. And people might say, like, the people who know the cosplay that I'm on about, they might think, well, why is that not really mobile? It's because there's so many vines like wrapping around my skin. I was constantly having to stop and readjust them. And while I could sit down, most of the time I'm like sitting down and I'm trying to readjust the ones that are on my legs. And it was just one of those kind of costumes that you think, I am only ever going to wear this once, and then if it makes it home, then it might end up in the nearest bonfire. If I don't just put it all into like a plastic bag and tie it to the roof of my car and hope that it falls off in the home.
I feel like every cosplayer's been there.
Yeah. Especially with that one. If anything, that is one that I would definitely redo. Just think about, okay, how can I do this differently? Because that was just a nightmare. I mean, funny story with that one. Two funny stories, actually. I remember going to the celebrity area, and there was people there from Game of Thrones, and one of the Dawnish girls from Game of Thrones was there, if you follow the series. And I knew her from another show called The Almighty Johnsons, which was one of my most favourite television shows. And I was like, there's no way that I'm not going up to her. Even if I don't get her autograph, I want to just go and say hello to her. So I got her autograph, but as soon as I got her autograph, I had to stand off to the side to readjust my arm because the vines had kind of fell down. So I'm readjusting my arm, and I have to stretch out my arm as I'm doing it. And somebody walks round the side and almost gets smacked in the face by me because I'm not looking where I'm stretching my arm, of course, and I just go like this. And I see this guy kind of like... I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Turns out that this guy could have either been the Dawnish girl's boyfriend, husband, fiance, or family member, because I seen her laughing about it, and I'm like still apologizing, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. So that happened. I think my favorite other instance being in that costume is when I met Sean Astin at the same Comic-Con event. I wanted to go up and give him the business card for iGame and say to him, we have a little tabletop based in the world of the Lord of the Rings, it would mean a lot to the guys if you went and listened to it. Which, guys, if you're watching this interview, you can do so on the brand new iGame website or on the iGame YouTube channel. Shameless plug there. So I go over to where Sean Astin is, and I get stopped by one of the security people, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's done for the day, he's done." And I'm like, "Look, it is 7 p.m. at night. I've got a 3-hour drive home. I just want to give him this card and go. I understand he's tired, probably hungry, wants to speak to his family. I'm tired, really hungry, and I want to get out of this costume." Oh wait, I didn't actually realise I was still in the costume. I was like, "I'm tired and hungry and just want to go home." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll just need to come back tomorrow." And I'm like, "I'm only here for today. Can I please just give him this card?" He's like, No, he's done. Sean hears this and kind of like calls me over, and I'm like to the security guards I'm walking past. I said to Sean, "Look, I understand you are tired, hungry, and you probably just want to go to your hotel. I don't want to autograph, I just want to give you this business card, tell you about the little show that we're doing, and go home." And he's signing autographs for the next day as I'm telling him this. And he kind of like looks up at me, looks back down and like keeps signing, and he says, "So what's your story then?" I then look down at myself, realising I'm still in costume, and without skipping a beat say, "Well, I'm what happens when Poison Ivy has a one-night stand." He laughed at that, I laughed at it and said, "Well, here's the card," you know. And I actually got a free autograph out of that.
Yes.
So, I did scramble to actually pay him, and he's like, no, just take it. So, there you go. It's a nice little tip for you guys. If you're ever doing a gender bent cosplay, just pull off a one-liner like that and you might get a free autograph. So yes, crazy things do happen at events. Nerve-wracking. I can agree with you on the nerve-wracking side of things, because that particular costume was hell. So I would need to rethink that in a big way. As for trying on things, well, I tried that particular one on like 6-7 times, and I was walking around in it, like before going to a con, just to see how it would work.
Yeah.
And it didn't dawn on me to lift like body tape that I could just stick down the vines so that they wouldn't move. And the funny thing was, I think I did have body tape, but I left it at home that day. So I'm like, but yeah, I would definitely agree with you on the whole try it on at home. I'm guilty for it as well, because I don't really do that.
Never left.
The working on it the night before, I can also agree with you on that, because I was dyeing a synthetic wig the night before a con. So yeah, that was pretty interesting, and I got quite a few like screaming matches with people in my house when I'm using a hairdryer at 6 in the morning. 6, 1, maybe 3 in the morning I got shouted at. So it's like, "Will you put that hairdryer up?" No!
You realize how important it is?
Pardon?
You realize how important it is?
Yeah.
That's on crunch.
And you know the worst of it, the dye was kind of running out of the wig at that point, like the following day, and I'm like, no! But yeah, if you're ever dyeing a wig, guys, do it multiple weeks ahead of time. Save yourself the bother. So when you've been going to these events, have you ever taken part in the cosplay competitions, or cosplay masquerades as they're known over here? And if so, did you win anything? And when winning something, what was running through your head?
I usually don't only because it's a really big time commitment. Any of the conventions I've been to is you pretty much write off most of that day because you have pre-judging and judging and then the actual on the stage event and then waiting to hear the results. And as amazing as that is, and like I love the stage, I was a dancer, so I definitely would love to do it. I just don't want, I would rather spend that time with my friends and doing that kind of stuff. I did enter once a year ago. I entered the Masters category and I did win first place.
Awesome.
I'm delighted.
What was running through your head when they called your name?
I was just super excited. It was literally a last minute decision. We traveled to a convention, and because there was one particular star we wanted to see, and they kind of announced him last minute. So we last minute decided to drive up at the convention. We didn't know anything else that was going on in the convention, and we showed up. And they didn't have a lot of other stuff going on that we were super interested in, and we didn't know really anybody. So we didn't have like a big friend group to go do all this fun stuff with. We definitely met some people and like that was nice, but we were kind of like spent half our day and then we were like, and what do we do now? So I went and they still had room left in the contest. So I signed up and they were like, judging's in an hour. So I was like, sweet. So then I just went and did that. So it was super last minute. So like I didn't really have time to think much about it. I just immediately went to judging and then we waited backstage and we did the thing. So I was surprised and excited. I'm like, wow, this is the best last minute decision I've ever made. And I love being on a stage. Like I've always loved doing stuff on stage. So I was more just like, I don't get nervous or anything. So I was just like on a high from like being on a stage and it was in my Mass Effect armor, which is my favorite cosplay. So I already feel on top of the world when I wear it. So I was just super duper excited.
Awesome. I think it's slightly different over here in the UK how we do our cosplay competition because we register. Like we go and register in the morning, as I'm assuming you guys do as well.
Some smaller convention.
Mm-hmm. We register when we get there, and if you don't register, then sometimes you can't enter.
Yeah.
And then we get told when we're registering, okay, be by like booth C at 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. So by 3 p.m. everybody who's entering into the competition goes there. We queue up and we're divided into like subgroups kind of thing, and the judges then come along and have a chat with you, ask you how you made your costume, whether it's store-bought or whatever. And then we get I think this is why we call it the masquerade, because we walk from booth B to the stage. So we're essentially walking the con floor.
Oh, wow.
And then we go up on stage, do our little bit, as the judges are again there. And then we come off and the judges will tabulate and then announce a winner. Mm-hmm. So we get I think we're a little more relaxed in that sense. But I always kind of find like when I'm doing things like that, I'm kind of like during the middle of the day, I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs thinking, right, well, what do I do? You know, how do I pass the time?
Yeah.
Which is why I love going around and talking to cosplayers. It's like, oh, well, this will like kill 20 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. If I'm not doing a photo shoot, but I haven't really done many photo shoots at cons because I prefer doing photo shoots outside of cons essentially. But if there's that's not to say that I don't like doing them at cons. You know, I prefer them outside of cons because you get more freedom.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But definitely interesting. I would love to do the way like a con. Like a Comic-Con convention-y type masquerade thing or competition over in the States, just to get that kind of experience of what you're kind of saying, like it's practically a full day. You know, I'd love to experience that and just see how different it is to how the UK does it.
Yeah.
while we're actually on the subject of judges and such likes, have you ever been asked to be a judge for a competition, and if so, did you do it, and what was that like?
Yeah, I've actually done a couple. It was super fun. I love getting to see the costumes. I love getting to ask everybody how they made it and like ask them kind of what the story is behind it, which I find like people that you think are shy and are super quiet, you ask them about their character and how they made it, and they just explode with information and happiness because they're like, yes, like this is what I did. This is why I love the character. This is why I made it. This is how I made it. And I love that. I find seeing that passion about it is super exciting to me. So I'm not sure how I've probably done it 4 or 5 times. I've judged a costume contest, and I've loved doing it. It's always hard because you see some and you're like, you know, this person was so like they nailed the character and the acting and they had everything down. This person had none of that, but they made a better costume. So it's hard, like that I find hard because I'm like, oh, like I want to reward this person for constructing something so beautiful, but then this person just completely became the character. And yeah, their costume wasn't perfect, but just watching them is like, whoa, like you are this character. So I always find that kind of hard to decide, okay, what do I reward more, this or this?
Everyone that I've spoken to that has been a judge has the same problem. You know, like you say, it's very difficult to judge somebody who has made this amazing costume over somebody who is the character.
Exactly.
You know, and then there's on occasion that some judges have just seen a costume that they completely fell in love with. You know, and it just kind of goes beyond the other two people. The one that has a really like identical character look and identical character personality. You know, and it just, a lot of judges when they see certain costumes, they want to give everybody an award.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately that can happen. You know. Do you agree with most other people who have judged things when they've said they're so glad that they have at least 2 to 3 other people also judging alongside them, because it makes it that little bit easier?
Yeah, I agree. And I find it is, because if you're like, oh, like, I mean, everyone has different opinions, so I could say this and this about a character, and someone could be like, well, actually, like, did you notice this? And I'll be like, I don't know how I missed that. No, you're right. And even like, it's good to have different people, because I certainly don't know every cosplay in the entire world. So a lot of times I find it will often be anime characters, because there are so many amazing animes out there, and I have not watched them all. So I will have these characters come up to me and I won't have a clue who they are. So I don't know if this looks like the character, and I don't know if you're acting like this character. But then luckily somebody with me, another judge, will be like, oh, like, no, they nailed that character. No, they weren't quite anything to do with that. So I find having that support system of other judges helps with that too, because usually collectively as a group, someone has seen or knows something about everything that we see, hopefully.
One of the things that I've actually learned about how they do judging over here, and I think it's the same over in America, we have judges that specialise in specific things when it comes to cosplay. Sometimes we'll have a judge who is really, really good at sewing, and another judge might be really, really good at makeup, or the third judge might be great when it comes to constructing armour builds, you know, like physical actual armour builds. And I think that's great, because you've got 3 people who are good in those different fields coming together to go, well, this person has nailed all 3 of these areas, you know, or even if there's just somebody who has that kind of expertise, I think it makes it so much easier when it comes to judging itself. Is that the same over in America? Do you guys tend to do that with your judges as well?
Yeah, I find most ones I've been to usually get a range of skills, so that you do have that different input.
Awesome. All right, so moving along. Okay, so my next question for you, in your opinion, what is the best and the worst things that a new cosplayer can do when they're getting ready to go to a cosplay event? So 3 of the best and 3 of the worst.
I'd say the best is just to make sure you kind of have everything you need. I've definitely been in situations where I did not check my bag, especially if you're not fully wearing your costume. If you're kind of like, I got to drive there, so I'm going to throw some of my costume in there. I've done stuff where I've driven hours, and then I got there, and I was missing like an integral part of my costume, which just sucked because then I didn't wear it, because without that piece, one time I forgot my Wonder Woman chest piece. So I was like, I don't really want to wear just a red top. Like, it's not really the same. So definitely make sure you have everything. I would say make sure you don't do what I do and try it on before, because that is definitely important. I've definitely learned many lessons, although I keep doing the same thing again. And then I would say just kind of, it's really awesome if you can find, if you don't know anybody, if you can find other people in the community that's going to be there. Like, if you're going to an event, like follow that event on social media and see. It's great to meet up with people and meet new friends. It always makes the convention so much more fun if you have other people there and other people to enjoy it with, especially if they're people that are also passionate about you, about what you're doing as well. So oftentimes I find a lot of conventions here, beforehand, people will go on the social media, the Facebook event or whatever it is, and they'll make a post and they'll say, hey, I'm wearing a Doctor Who cosplay. I'd love to have a Doctor Who meetup. We could get some pictures, we could see everyone's costume together. So looking for that stuff on the social media is amazing, or even starting that yourself. If you're like, you know what, I'm going to do a Justice League cosplay. Is anyone else doing a Justice League cosplay? And then you can have that kind of meetup and you'll meet people with your same interests. You'll usually get some awesome pictures. So I'd say those would be my 3 tips.
Awesome. So let's talk about age differences now in cosplay. When I first started the path to Comic-Con, I had this very specific age group inside my head. I thought, okay, I am going to probably come into contact with a specific age group. So I decided to then kind of research into that, and all the information I had was actually coming from the States. I didn't really have a lot of information coming from the UK. And while I was looking up all these kind of like cosplay pictures and people who go to conventions, I was seeing kind of similar patterns, which is early to mid-teens to late 30s to mid-30s. And I thought that must be the age demographic. Okay, so I fit within that age demographic, so I can go up to somebody and say comic books and have them say comic books back to me and go comic books. But I then started kind of thinking, right, well, it can't just be like teenagers to mid-30s running around. There has to be more, and I did see pictures of families doing cosplay, but it just felt like they were like mum, dad, children on staircase, in-house, picture off to fancy dress party. It really didn't seem like they were cosplaying as such. So I thought, okay, it must be just that demographic that I'm predominantly going to see. Went along and was so shocked to see age ranges of all groups. You had babies who were only weeks old there with mum. The age group that I mentioned, younger age groups, older age groups. We had grannies and granddads there in cosplay, no less. So it was so amazing to see such a diverse range of ages there. what kind of experiences have you had with that? Did you have a similar thought process, or did you always think, okay, cosplay is definitely for everybody?
I feel like I've always had that kind of it's for everybody, only because, like, again, when I started cosplaying, like, really into it, like, about 7 years ago, almost immediately I joined, like, a cosplay, we call ourselves, like, a street team. So we're the ones who do all these, like, charitable events, and, like, all these different community events invite us, and we do that kind of stuff for kids. And in that group, like, right away, that was my first real, like, cosplay experience. The age range was hugely different. There are people in there that are, you know, in their early 50s, 40s, 30s. There were people that weren't even legal to drink yet that were in there. And then I consider the majority of those people my best friends now. Like, that is who I hang out with, not just during events and at cosplay. Like, we've become lifelong friends. So because I was fortunate enough to be in that situation, it doesn't seem odd to me that there's, like, different age ranges. To me, it's just like, it's everybody. Everyone should be cosplaying. This is amazing. Why isn't everyone doing this? So I'd say definitely all ages.
Awesome. What kind of cosplays do you, like, when you're doing a cosplay, do you tend to stick within your own age range, or do you just go, well, it's a cosplay, I love the character, I'm going to do it regardless?
I feel like I have stayed within my age range. I don't know if that was a conscious decision. I find, because I am one of those people that when I make a cosplay, it's a character that I really love. Like, I'm doing it because I'm like, yeah, I love this character. And there's a good chance that I love that character because I can picture myself as it, and I want to be that person, and I want to embody them, and I feel like I can relate to them in a way. So I feel like that kind of by default has always been characters that are in and around my age range. And I even will joke now about my friends that, like, you know, when I get older, I'm going to do this cosplay. And I'm, like, super excited for those because I'm like, I can pull that off when I'm in my 60s because I am super cosplaying.
Living in the UK, we get a lot of Doctor Who cosplayers kind of like running around at conventions. And there's always somebody from Doctor Who at said conventions. And I remember speaking to a few of these people, and they've said, oh, well, now that I'm blank age, I can finally do, like, this Doctor from the first ever season of Doctor Who, or the season of Doctor Who when he's really old and kind of like decrepit. And they're always kind of like making this point of they're using their age to their advantage. And I remember looking at most of these people and going, you can still do, like, the David Tennant Doctor. You know, it makeup what works wonders if you know how to use it, you know. But I can totally understand the whole using their age to their advantage, and some people who say, right, well, I might need to be a little older to do that particular type of cosplay. But I always kind of like try to put it across, just because your character might be a little bit more older than what you currently are, doesn't mean to say you can't still do that character. Or if, in the case of young children, if they want to do, like, Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad, like, some parents might go, oh god, no, I'm not having my child running around half dressed, which is understandable. You just find ways around it, find a way to alter the style of the look a little bit. Like, instead of your child wearing hot pants shorts, maybe they wear trousers that has got one leg blue and the other leg red. It's a way around it. And it actually gets your child actively more creative in the costume that they're making. So, ways around it, guys. Okay, so my next question for you. is the one thing that all cosplayers love and hate at the same time, and that is our props. Yeah. Props fall into 2 categories for me and then 3 subcategories. We've got goes to a Comic-Con, goes to a photo shoot. And that would not be a photo shoot at a Comic-Con, that's photo shoot only, not photo shoot at con. And then they fall into 3 subcategories, which is, holy crap, this prop is so large, I cannot figure how to get it out of my house into the con event, let alone how I'm going to be like working with it. Medium size, which is, okay, I can get this prop out of my house to the event, but it's going to bug me after 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then small, which is this prop fits in my bag, my pocket, wherever I need to put it, and I'm good to go. Out of those 3 sizes of props, which are you most likely, obviously depending on the cosplay that you're doing, more liable to take with you to a Comic-Con event?
I usually do the medium range. I actually love props. I much prefer a costume that has a prop. I don't know why, it just makes me feel cooler if I'm like holding a gun or if I have my Wonder Woman sword. I find if I don't have it, then lots of times in pictures I don't know what to do with my hands, so I like to have a prop. So most of them, I think the only one I made that was like big would be my wings for my Hawk Girl, and they were absolutely a pain in the butt. We had to make 2 trips, I think, to the hotel to transport them because they had to lay down flat, and they're made of foam and like PVC pipes, so we can't put anything on top of them, but like didn't want them to like slip. And then in the convention, they were an absolute pain in the butt. I had to walk sideways everywhere, and that was not fun. And I couldn't wear them outside if it was windy because they would catch the wind.
I actually have a question for you about that one. Both you and Matt did Hawkman and Hawkgirl together.
Mm-hmm.
Just how hellish was that for you guys? Like, if somebody said to you, right, can we get a picture of you guys kind of in an embrace, like a hugging embrace.
Mm-hmm.
How hellish was that for you guys, obviously working with those wings? Because I remember looking at a picture of both of you and you're kind of almost very close together. And I'm like, how on earth did they get into that position wearing these wings? Because it must have been hell. So how do you work around that?
His didn't go out sideways. His kind of went back, and his were stationary, so they were just the wing shape, and that was it, and they were kind of folded in on his back wings. Mm-hmm. Mine went more to the like back and side, and mine actually opened up. Mine had movement in them. Mm-hmm. So I was definitely the problem child there because I needed a wide berth to get around anywhere. But he was pretty mobile in his, and his were where they weren't as heavy as mine because they didn't require all the stuff in them to make them move. So oftentimes I would get into position and then he would make sure I was fine, and then he would make his way in beside me because he had much more mobility.
I bet you were cursing his name at the end of the day, like, how dare you be more mobile? So let's talk about the wings a little bit more because obviously we had a good jumping off point from them there. When it comes to props like that, do you make your own from scratch, buy them in and customize them, or buy them in like ready-made? So, or all three? So what's the kind of process you go through?
I like to make everything from scratch, which there's nothing wrong with buying cosplay. I just like the satisfaction of when someone's like, did you make that? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, whoa! That like brings me great joy. So I like that. I'm also super fortunate that like I do live in a house with 3 other cosplayers. So I do have it kind of easy in the sense that I could be trying to figure out how to make something, like giant wings or whatever it may be, a gun, a shield, a sword. And I look at it and I'm like, I cannot figure this out. This is not working. Like, my patterns aren't lining up. The materials I'm using aren't. So I literally just have to turn around to the other 3 cosplayers in my house and be like, what do you think about this? And like, they all have great opinions. So one of them might be, I would do, if I was going to do it, this is what I would do. Or I watched a video and this person did this. So like, it's a super great resource that I have those people available. I cannot draw like at all. And luckily one of them can draw very, very well. So that helps me a lot, I find. Sometimes I'll be trying to make a pattern and I'll be spending an hour trying to like mark out this pattern or figure out how this, whatever it is going to work. And I am struggling. And then they're like, oh, here, it's this. And then they just draw it in 2 seconds. And I'm like, oh. So I'd definitely building from scratch. I don't know if I've ever bought. The sword I often use for my Wonder Woman, that was the base of that is like a purchased $12 Halloween sword. Mm-hmm. And then I used foam and Warbler and I built off of that to make her sword. But I think that's the only prop I have that wasn't completely from scratch.
I will tell you right now, I have never worked with Warbler, and I am dreading the day that I have to.
No, it's amazing.
Like, pardon?
You'll love it. It's amazing.
Well, coincidentally, like, I have a couple of friends who have worked with it before. And I'm going to name drop right now, so free plug for them. Kovi Kicks and Alpha Betty are 2 cosplayers that are like known for working with Warbler, or they've done quite a few things with it, and I'm always in awe of the stuff that they do. Mm-hmm. Not to downplay Kovi, but Alpha Betty does a lot of Skyrim cosplays.
Wow.
And he uses a lot of Warbler in them. So I'm always like, because I'm really big into Skyrim and kind of things like that. So I'm always like this, kind of like looking at his stuff on Instagram and blowing it up. So like, I'm like, oh, how did he do that? You know, like, oh, there's so much detail in it. And I'm like, kind of like a little kid on Christmas. I'll be sitting in the corner of a house somewhere just going, ooh. But when I remember speaking to him at one point and saying, how did you make this piece? And he's like, oh, I made it out of Warbler. And I'm like, no. No. Because I'm like, for me personally, I'm still at the making things out of cardboard and whatever I can find lying around my house. Yeah, it's like, it's
whatever
cheap.
works.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's lying around my house doing nothing. Might as well work. But I understand that Warbler is kind of like really expensive. So I think that's why I fear working with it. Because it is so expensive and I don't want to muck it up. And knowing me, I would.
Oh yeah. I have, trust me.
But while we're still on the subject of props, and we were kind of talking about having somebody draw it in and other things, do you do what myself and some other cosplayers do when they're making props, which is, do you go a little bit mad and start talking to the inanimate object?
Yeah. I don't know if I talk to it. I talk about it. My gun I made for my Mass Effect. I know I'm going on about Mass Effect, but I'm a really big Mass Effect. And that set of armor is like my crowning achievement in life. That is like my baby. Like, people would ask to touch it and I'd be like, no, please. Like, this thing is like, and I would, if I was doing like events for the team we volunteer with, some events we're not allowed to bring weapons, which is totally understandable. But if I've like already kind of pre-decided I'm going to wear my Mass Effect armor to that one, and then the person that's in charge of us sends out like a mass message and they're like, hey guys, like, sorry, no weapons for this event. I'm like, my gun. So I'm like, oh, that gun, I want it so badly. So I don't talk to it, but I definitely have a weird love for my props.
Well, I'm going to expand on this a little bit and show off a prop that almost drove me to the brink of insanity, which, given the cosplay that I was doing, was kind of very fitting. So a little bit of backstory on this. I was redoing my Harley Quinn Suicide Squad look, because the first time I ever did it, we didn't have any pictures of what the characters were going to look like in the movie. We were like, I think maybe 2 to 3 months away from getting any just like pre-pictures of what the movie was going to be like. And I got the chance to redo that costume, and I did it amazingly. And I was like, okay, I need props for this costume because I'm not taking my hammer with me, and I'm not going to find the baseball bat in time. So I was like, what can I make? And I was actually playing Batman Arkham Knight, which I have a massive poster of Harley just there in the background. At the time, and in the game she has this little Jack-in-the-Box thing, so I was like, I'm going to make a Jack-in-the-Box. Yeah, that was a bad idea. But I did manage to make the Jack-in-the-Box, and here it is. All con-friendly, and as you can see, Jack does have his pom-poms. And I love this prop, but I hate it at the same time because it drove me completely and utterly insane. Because there was so many things that went into it, like the box itself is cardboard, and there's absolutely, with the exception of the pins that hold in the button here, there's nothing on this particular cosplay that could seriously injure someone.
Yeah.
You know, unless you'd managed to poke your eye off the side of the corners, but even then they're kind of pretty safe, you know. But I had so much trouble trying to get this prop to work because I was literally painting the box with a specialised black paint that makes it shine. And then I'm having to stick cardboard onto the paint. So I had to glue and double-sided tape all of these red parts down, and some of them still want to like peel off, and I'm like, no. The diamonds are just sticky labels coloured in and stuck in. I think double-sided tape was used on them as well. The polystyrene ball was the part that really drove me mad because I had to figure out how I was going to put like the red kind of thing on it, and I tried gluing it down, it didn't work. I tried double-sided tape, didn't work. I tried extra strength double-sided tape and super glue, did not work. I think what we ended up having to do was stitch it in and then pin it in as well. So Jack's head is actually pinned at the back where nobody can see to make sure that the fabric stays on, and stitched in, I don't actually remember where he's stitched in, but he's stitched in somewhere. But this entire prop ended up with me speaking to it, wanting to throw it out the window, bargaining with it, and asking it, why can't you just work? People love it though. Like I remember being at the con event that I was at with it, and everybody wanted to hold it. They wanted to know what was inside of it. They wanted to know if they could like get a picture with it, and I was like, no, you can't hold it. Yes, you can have a picture as long as I'm the one holding it. And currently what's in it is my business cards and my cell phone. So it's practical. You know, and it is practical, and I love having a prop like that you can put other things in, like your wallet, your business card, your phone. It just makes life easier, and you're not carrying around as much yourself. So, crazy little thing, but a useful little thing, and it has pride of place. on my mantelpiece over here. I think you can just barely see my stick of dynamite there, which I also made from cardboard. So I love working with cardboard, it's so much fun. But props are insane. I think my next cosplay, I don't have any props for it. And I'm like, thank you. You know, like, just a thing to myself, like, thank you, me, for not having any props. So, on the subject of cosplay, what has cosplay opened up for you away from being in costume? Like, you mentioned that you've become part of a group that does charity work, and obviously that is extremely fulfilling. Is there anything else that cosplay has opened up for you away from being in costume?
I feel like that's probably the biggest one. I mean, other than like actual like friendships and stuff. Usually any experiences that I get because I'm in cosplay involve me also being in cosplay again. Like, I will be at an event and somebody will be like, oh my goodness, like, we did one recently. We were at an event, a charitable event, and some guy came up. I was dressed as Wonder Woman and I had Superman with me. Some guy came up and was like, oh my goodness, like, I'm about to do this really big thing. It's really weird. I would love if you two were involved. And it was actually a birth announcement for the gender of their child. And they were like, we have this giant black balloon filled with a color of confetti. Like, we want to, like, videotape it. Like, we would like you and Superman to be the ones holding and popping this balloon to announce the gender of our child.
God.
That's amazing. Like, yeah, so, like, a lot of times, like, I get cool opportunities and, like, stuff comes out of it. It's usually always cosplay related. They're like, oh, you're Wonder Woman? Can you come be Wonder Woman at this? Or, can Wonder Woman come to my kid's birthday party? So other than the volunteer stuff and, like, friends, people that, there's a group of us that we make Mandalorian armor, and we've literally become a family. We call ourselves a family, and I trust those people with my life. And, you know, we go on vacations together and we spend our weekends together, and we were brought together because of this, because of cosplay. I don't know if I would have found them otherwise, and I am so...
that one person I've interviewed kind of said that at that point when I asked them that question, they're like, well, it's allowed me to have a job, because they make costumes professionally. Like, they'll get commissioned to do cosplays.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would maybe hope for at some point, or do you just do it for the fun of it?
I've had people ask me, and, like, I wouldn't absolutely say no to something, but I take a long time to make a cosplay. Like, it takes a lot of effort for me. Again, I cannot draw. Like, stick figures is, like, my jam. So making a cosplay for me, especially if it's something I've never made before, is hard. Like, it takes me a long time to figure out the patterns. So to do that for somebody else, I don't know how great it would be. It would depend on what it is, really. So if somebody asks me, like, especially props, I'm actually really good at. I find props, because I don't know what it is about them, but I understand them very well. So, like, those, like, I've never had any issues cranking out a prop in, like, a couple days. Armor is harder. Sewing, I wouldn't sell anybody my sewing because it's not that great. It works for me, but I wouldn't make somebody pay money for that. So, like, I've had people ask me, and I've said, you know, yeah, like, I could do this. Like, this is how long it would take. And, like, I have to charge you for my time. So it's probably cheaper to go out there. But definitely, I would definitely take that if it was something that I knew I was capable of doing.
Awesome. Okay, so my next question for you is, who are you going to be in your next 3 cosplays? So the person that you're going to be at your next event, somebody that we might see, well, somebody that you're working on for later this year, and somebody that we might see that you're thinking of for either late 2018 or early 2019. So let's start with who you're going to be at your next event.
At my next event, I will be in armor. I haven't decided which armor. I will be in, there is a parade coming up here on August the 11th that I am in. And I'm part of a group called Maritime Heavy Armor. And it is a group that you get invited into when you've made a set of armor that kind of, you know, you make a full set of armor and you're in and friends for life. It's awesome. But so I like to wear armor when I do stuff with them, just because that is how I got into the group. So it's good to wear armor. So depending on how hot it is outside, will decide what I wear. I always want to wear my Mass Effect, so it could be that. Or if it is pretty warm, it would probably be my Mandalorian, my like original character Mandalorian.
Awesome. So who is the cosplay that you're working on that we'll probably see later in 2018?
The big convention that we're going to at the end of October, I have 2 new cosplays for that. One would be Secret, so that one I'm keeping on the down low. That would be my big one. And I am doing another new one. It is from the game Doki Doki Literature Club.
Awesome.
So I'm making the character Sayori.
Awesome. And who is somebody that you're thinking of that we might see late 2018, early 2019?
I always have a list of ones I want. So I could give you a couple. I love Game of Thrones and I love Daenerys. So she has been on my list for a while. I really want to do her. I really love Meg from the Disney Hercules movie. So she is high on my list right now too. But both of those are a lot of sewing. And sewing is my least favorite of cosplay making. So those are kind of in there, and I want to do them. I just need the motivation. I also, again, I mentioned that Anthem armor. I would love to make that. I started working on a wizard from Diablo. So that one is started. And I was going to do it for this upcoming convention in October. But then myself and a group of friends came up with this secret cosplay idea that we just got so excited for that we were like, we're not doing Diablo right now. Let's put that on the back burner and let's just crank out this other one right now. But I did start the Diablo one, so I'm hopefully going to finish that one. I'd say maybe by the end of winter, that one would be done.
Awesome. I have a secret one that I'm going to tell you about because I've got a story for it, but we'll be doing that off camera when we're done, because that's a secret one. But there is one that I'm working on that I kind of can talk about. There's a convention that I'm going to in, I think it's November, up in Edinburgh. And I'm working on my secret cosplay for it, which I'm dreading it because of the material that I'm having to work with. But the other one, now I've got 2 options here. I can either do Max from Life is Strange, because that's a very easy cosplay to do. It's all like predominant clothing. I just need to get fabric paint to fix the t-shirt, or I'm gonna have to either dye my hair brown or get a wig. I think I'm gonna go for a wig.
Yeah,
because it's just easier.
It is.
But I can decide whether to get the instant camera thing that she has, or just run around with my messenger bag. I think running around with my messenger bag is probably the better idea. But I know that there's going to be fans out there of Life is Strange that will say to me, Max, where's your camera? So I might need to look into getting a portable camera thingy-majigger. The other one will probably be 10 times easier. I'm thinking about Psychiatrist Harley, because it's the only incarnation of Harley that I've not done.
That'd be fun.
That might be slightly easier to do, and I already have a kind of lab coat sitting hidden away somewhere. So that could be easier to do. I might actually decide to do that, because I don't really need to do much for that, you know. And I do have a clipboard somewhere that I can carry around that day and be like,
yeah, you can start to psychoanalyze all the cosplayers at the event.
So yeah, that's 2 kind of cosplays that I might happen in November. I don't know yet. All depends how many days I'm there for. I'm hoping to be there for 2 days at that event. That'll be the first time I'm doing a 2-day event. Woohoo! So my last question for you is, what advice would you give to somebody who is new to cosplaying but doesn't know where to start?
I would say figure out what you want to do first. Like I'm a very much into, I only want to cosplay characters that I love. Like that's why I want to cosplay them, is that I'm passionate about them and I love them and I want to feel like them and I want to feel that, you know, whatever it is that that character has, whether it's they're funny or they're powerful or they're strong or they're brave. And I find that makes the whole process easier. It makes it fun to make it, even if you do get frustrated while you're making it, because it's definitely hard at first when you're trying to figure out, even if you've been doing it for years, you know, you're constantly learning new stuff and you're constantly finding new struggles and like, whoa, like I need to create this. I've never made one of these before. Like I gotta learn how. But if you love that character and if you're passionate about it, then like it makes it all worth it. And you can see that kind of light and you're like, okay, this is a struggle, but like I'm gonna get to be this character and I'm so excited. So I'd say make sure it's definitely something you love.
Awesome. So with that being said, guys, that is the end of the interview. If you have any questions for myself or for Amazon Pride, there is, I think, do you see Amazon? There's like a comment section down there. See, it's just down there. So please do go along and give us a question, and we will do our very best to answer your question to our full extent of knowledge. Also, give us a big thumbs up for enjoying this video, and check out some of the other videos on this playlist, guys, if you're watching it on the playlist. If not, head over to the Jai452 channel, where you can find multiple other interviews as well as some amazing gaming videos. However, if that is not quite your thing and you still want to catch up with me for some strange reason, you can find me on this amazing website, which is igameonline.net. We do have a Facebook page, guys, and a YouTube channel. And on that website itself, we have so much more content going on. There is cosplay related content. There is tabletop related content. I mentioned earlier about our role-playing session that's based in the world of Lord of the Rings. You can catch all of that on both our YouTube channel, where we have some animated episodes going up. We also have it on our website, which is completely audio, and you can catch up with Estelle, Theo, Zabi, and Dylan Trask, as well as many other characters in the Lord of the Rings, and see what is happening in that world. However, if Lord of the Rings is not your thing and you want something that happens on a little bit more of a lively basis, you can join us on Monday night, where we play our Dragonlance session, and you can find out what is happening in the world of Kryn. But if you want more cosplay related stuff, there are some cosplayers on our website. There is the wonderful Tunafel, Alphabet, Little Rascal, and Kobe Kicks. However, if you just want to get in touch with Amazon Prime, hopefully she's going to give us some wonderful links where we can go along and support her and ask any questions that we might have that we maybe necessarily weren't very comfortable with putting in that comment section down there. So Amazon, where can we get a hold of you if we have any further questions?
My Instagram is always the best place to get a hold of me. I'm super active on there. So it's at Pride of the Amazons is my handle, and it has my name on it, which is Nikki Brown.
Awesome. Is there anywhere else that we can get a hold of you, or is it just Instagram?
I pretty much just do Instagram.
Okay, awesome. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank Amazon for taking the time out and spending it with us and helping us drudge through this world of cosplay. Hopefully we will be back really soon with another cosplay interview, and we're getting so close to 100, guys. So close. And for the 100th video, we do have something very special happening, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But in the meantime, I've been Jai452, Pride of the Amazons has been Pride of the Amazons, and this has been Inside Cosplay. Bye, guys.